On behalf of Avadh Girls Degree College, welcome you all to Tehrim Das Memorial Dialogue, jointly organized by Institute for Career Studies and Avadh Girls Degree College. We are privileged to have with us today Dr. Shruti Shukla and Mr. Shukla. I extend a very warm welcome to Ms. Zohra Chatterjee, ex-Secretary, Ministry of Textiles, Government of India. Dr. Urvashi Sahani, Founder and Chief Executive, Study Hall Educational Foundation. Dr. Prerna Kapoor, Senior Physician, Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences. Professor Meenakshi Pahwa, Department of English and Modern European Languages, University of Lucknow. Dr. Amrita Das, Director, Institute for Career Studies. Ms. Kavita Das, Director, Institute for Career Studies. Mr. Ajit Das, Director, Operations, Institute for Career Studies. Ms. Zareen Vikaji, President, Managing Committee, Avadh Girls Degree College. Mrs. Rudy Kapoor and Professor Beena Rai, Principal, Avadh Girls Degree College. We are honored to have you amidst us today. Maya Angelou said, and I quote, "Each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women." I wish everyone present here a very happy Women's Day. A more appropriate day could not have been chosen to commemorate the life and achievements of Mrs. Tehrim Das. Let us begin today's program by invoking the blessings of God Almighty. I request the dignitaries to please come forward and light the lamp of knowledge.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना.
I now request Dr. Amrita Das to welcome Ms. Zohra Chatterjee with a token of appreciation. I request Ms. Kavita Das to welcome Dr. Urvashi Sahani with a token of gratitude. I request Mr. Ajit Das to welcome Dr. Prerna Kapoor with a token of appreciation. I request Dr. Amrita Das to welcome Professor Meenakshi Pahwa with a sapling. I request our principal, Professor Beena Rai, to welcome Dr. Shruti Shukla. I now request Ms. Zareen Vikaji, President, Managing Committee, Avadh Girls Degree College, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the Institute for Career Studies and Avadh Girls Degree College, I am delighted to welcome you all to this Tehrim Das Memorial Lecture. Over the years, as I have been narrating and welcoming, we have now crossed, I think, 9 years continuously, and this is the 10th year of the Tehrim Das Memorial. Each year, I comment to Amrita that she keeps pulling these rabbits out of the hat by getting one good speaker after another. And today she has proved that she is truly a magician, because she has pulled 4 rabbits out of this one hat. And we are very happy to welcome our 4 keynote speakers today, all of whom have distinguished themselves in their own careers. We are very proud. There's some association most of them have, either with the college or with us personally. And I'm delighted to have you all and to hear you all and what you have to say about your various achievements and, of course, in glory of the ever delightful Tehrim Das. Auntie Gypsy, as we used to call her. Can you imagine a name given to you that says Gypsy? And what does that connote, or what does that image bring up? A person who's happy, gay, dancing from place to place, traveling from here to there, not rooted in any one place. And all my memories of her, and let me tell you, my memories of her go way back. My mother and her mother were very dear friends. I served with her on the managing committee for many years. Amrita, Kavita, Ajit, Ranjit, all are very dear friends. It's like family. And so when your family does you proud, it is always even more special than someone else doing so. I am so delighted that all of you are here. I'm so delighted to welcome all our audience and so many august names and faces that I see there. Pardon me if my distance vision does not permit me to take the names, but you're all so welcome. And I'm sure we'll have a very, very interesting session ahead of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Tehrim Das was known for her charitable disposition and leadership qualities. I request Ms. Kavita Das to acquaint us with the wonderful precedent that Mrs. Tehrim Das set for all women.
Mrs. Tehrim Das started her lifelong voluntary social work as a member of the YWCA in Delhi at the age of 15, attending leadership programs and workshops on education, women and development conducted by the YWCA of India and Delhi enhanced her understanding of these issues. She married Amarjit Kumar Das in 1954. Until her husband's retirement as the first Director General of Police, UP, she devoted herself to welfare work for the families of policemen as secretary and then president for the Welfare Association, which had 70 centers across the state. From 1975 to 1980, Mrs. Das was the founder, executive director of the Center for Women's Studies and Development of the Isabella Thoburn College, Lucknow, and a member of the consortium of 9 centers under the Asian Women's Institute. During this time, CWST established an integrated rural development project under which rural women were provided literacy and education, healthcare services, sanitation and hygiene, and were educated about their rights. She participated in several workshops organized by the Asian Women's Institute in Penang, Singapore, Bangkok, Hong Kong, Seoul, and Tokyo, where she presented papers on themes related to women's empowerment. As president of the Lucknow YWCA, she was instrumental in expanding its rural development project. She also established the Cheshire Homes in Lucknow and was the founder president for 8 years. She served as the chairperson of Mother Teresa's co-workers, who facilitated the Missionaries of Charity, Lucknow, with the management of 3 homes for destitute and terminally ill persons, a TB hospital, and a leprosy center. She was successful in getting 30 acres of land for the project with the support of the government. This is the largest piece of land the Missionaries of Charities have in the world for their noble work. Mrs. Das was president of the Family Planning Association of India, Lucknow branch, for 6 years, and vice president of a large rural project known as NIRFAD, Naujheel Integrated Rural Project for Health and Development, in Mathura, where 118 villages are being developed by this NGO. She was also in the management committee of the All India Women's Conference, the National Council for Women, and Avadh Girls Degree College. A keen sportswoman who won prizes for cricket, badminton, tennis, and table tennis, she was president of the UP Women's Cricket Association in the 1980s. She also enjoyed playing the piano and was a gifted singer.
I now hand over the reins of the program to Dr. Amrita Das.
Happy Women's Day to all of you. As we walked in, I could feel the energy in the room. Did you all also feel it? Full of energy, and we are delighted to have everyone present for the event today. So welcome to the Tehrim Dass Memorial Dialogue, featuring 4 eminent women of substance: Dr. Meenakshi Pahwa, Dr. Prerna Kapoor, Dr. Urvashi Sani, and Mrs. Zora Chatterjee. Each one is an inspiring role model and has made a stellar contribution to our society and nation. This is the landmark 10th signature yearly event organized by the Institute for Career Studies and the Avadh Girls Degree College, where my mother served on the management committee. The college was very close to her heart, And when she wasn't keeping well, I recall that some meetings were held at her home. On this occasion, I pay homage to my revered mother, who had an empowering presence in shaping my life and the Institute for Career Studies. So when I'd come back from London University, there was a lot of exposure that I had to higher studies, fellowships, scholarships, careers. I was passionate about education, but I was also entrepreneurial. And I discussed with my parents that what I wanted to do was to start something that would guide students to make informed decisions about their studies, about their careers, and discuss all the possibilities that existed, which I hadn't been aware of till I got the exposure of traveling, of being in UK, in Europe. So when I shared this with my parents, my mother said, "Why don't you call it the Institute for Career Studies?" And I said, "Mummy, it's such a big name for just an idea." And she said, "You would grow into it." The very next day, ICS was founded. So I believe in carpe diem, seize the day. My mother believed that no society rises above the level of its women. And she got to know about this while serving at the Center for Women's Studies and Development as director, because this is what Isabella Thoban, the founder of IT College, had said: no society rises above the level of its women. My mother believed that equality is not a women's issue, it is a human issue. Women's rights are human rights. So let us strive for a world where every woman can live with dignity, respect, and freedom. We will hear from 4 eminent women. The first question would be posed to each one so that you get deep insights about their inspiring journeys. And before they speak, I will have the privilege of introducing them to you. The question that each one will reflect on is: how did you discover your purpose and passion in life? What sparked the journey? Please share some significant highlights of your career. Once we are through with a lot of questions and answers and reflections, it'll be open to the audience for a conversation. And after that, the concluding remarks. So we'll start with Dr. Meenakshi Pahwa, who retired as professor from the Department of English and Modern European Languages, University of Lucknow. Her research interests include Indian drama, folk theatre, climate change, translation studies, and English language teaching, ELT. A Mellon Fellow at Harvard University, 2017, Fulbright Scholar at the New York University, 2006, and Charles Wallace India Trust Fellow at the Cambridge University. She is the author of 2 books: The Dramatic Art and Vision of Tom Stoppard, and Alan Ayckbourn, Chasing the Cosmic Muse. Her translations of short stories and essays in literary criticism have been published in South Indian Review, Indian Literature, and Hindi Language Discourse. Some of her forthcoming titles of her translations of Hindi plays are Godse at Gandhi.com, Vani Prakashan, Ye Akash Mera Bhi Hai, and Ek Bhikaran Ki Maut. Dr. Pahwa is an ardent theatre enthusiast, a voracious reader, an avid traveler, and cinema buff. She's fond of listening to music in any form and is passionate about the rich cultural heritage of the performing arts and textiles of India. Dr. Meenakshi Pahwa, do reflect on how you discovered your purpose and passion in life.
Thank you, Amrita, for that very generous introduction. And good morning to each one of you in this August gathering. Ms. Zareen Vikkaji, who has been iconic figure to this very esteemed institution, and many other distinguished guests and students and faculty. What sparked my journey? I have to go back to my childhood, and I recall spending summer vacations and winter vacations in Mathura, my birthplace, in my Nani's home. And my Nani was an educationist who was teaching poor children who were children of laborers and other economically deprived section of society, girls and boys, as well as in the evenings, there was a program for adult education. So whenever there was recess time, I would, since the school was just behind the backyard of Nani's home, I would sneak into the classrooms and write very energetically on the board. And in the evenings when the school was over, and there were some willing pupils that I had, who I would teach. So where exactly the seed of this noble profession was sown in me came into fruition as late as 1985, I beg your pardon, where very, very significantly I had joined Institute for Career Studies as an aspirant for civil services. I call it the national pastime for all us young Indians. I was no different. And at that stage, for me, I can speak for myself, it was more driven by idealism to make a difference to the country, to the people who needed help, and so on and so forth. Not any different from those that are driven to join the August services. However, at some point, I cannot pinpoint, I began to veer away. It was not that I was losing focus, but I began to look within. I said, even teachers make a difference. They are also nation builders. So why do I have to be a bureaucrat to make that? And I think the niggling feeling was that I won't have that kind of time for reading if I'm looking after a district. So I made my change of plans known to my parents, who were extremely supportive and did not call me names, ki tum to itte din se soch rahi thi and what has happened. They supported that decision. And since then, I have till date, to the time I retired, I have never regretted that decision. And what actually was very fulfilling in my profession was the short line that Mrs. Mohini Manglik, my guru and mentor, under whom I did my PhD, said that those pair of hungry eyes sitting in front of you, they are seekers. Don't ever shortchange them. Driven by my own sense of spirituality, not religiosity, I took that very seriously because every class became a prayer. And if it was a prayer, then you don't serve stale prasad to your maker. So every time I was passionate about preparing for lectures every semester, and every time there was a change of syllabi, well, some colleagues mumbled and grumbled, ki ab phir se again, it's barely 3 years. But I was always the enthusiastic one, responding to change, learning new things, because it also steeped in the fact that I am a lifelong learner. Thank you.
fascinating insights about how you changed your decision when you connected with your true self. Dr. Prerna Kapoor is an MBBS from the Maulana Azad Medical College, Delhi, 1989, MD in Medicine, also from MAMC, Delhi, 1992. And she's an eminent professional in the field, working as SAG Senior Physician, General Hospital, SGPGI, and she's been in this current job since 1994. She's the most empathetic and caring doctor that I have come across. She's my go-to doctor. Thank you for that. Her special interests are preventive medicine, school health, health education and awareness, tropical and infectious diseases, women's health, occupational health, rabies prevention, stress management, tuberculosis, tobacco prevention, and lifestyle medicine. She's the chief editor of SGPGI's newsletter. She's a part of many ongoing research projects for PhD and MD thesis, where she's a code guide, and a reviewer for many prestigious journals. She is the recipient of the Nari Asmita Samman Award. Let's give her a hand for that. A poet. So here's a doctor, multifaceted. She's a poet, writer, gardener, avid cook, active campaigner for recycling and composting, and say no to plastic. That is so impressive and inspiring.
Thank you, Dr. Amrita Das. And well, I always like to say that I am a jhola chap because I love, I want everyone to use jhola, not plastic. And thank you to everyone, and very good morning to the wonderful audience present here and all the dignitaries that I can see on and off the stage. And it's always wonderful to meet a hall full of young girls and women. And if we can be role models, or that's a very strong word, try to even influence someone thoda kahin par, then I would say that it's worthwhile. And should I answer your questions? So how I came to become a doctor has two parts to it. My father is a first generation refugee, my father and mother both actually, but my father is a first generation refugee and his family shifted from Sialkot to India and lived in very dire circumstances like a lot of people at that time, nothing more different. But he was and is extremely brilliant, but despite the brilliance, he went on to do a doctorate in physics, but he wanted to become a doctor and his family could not afford that luxury or the time for him. So when I was growing up, he used to say this. He used to not press this upon me as कि मेरा अधूरा ख्वाब है तुम पूरा करो. He is not dramatic, he is not filmy. But somewhere I internalized and imbibed that and thought कि मैं ये बनूंगी. And growing up, I had lots of role models. I saw a lot of doctors, more women than men were my role models, but a lot of men also. And I think that particular mixture which doctors, clinicians bring to the table of being professional and competent, yet being extremely empathetic, that was something that appealed to me then and appeals to me now. And that's what I try to bring to my practice. Personal approach, people-centric approach, listening to the patient. I am extremely old-fashioned. I listen to my patient, I examine them thoroughly, and then I go to the investigations. So, medicine is it's a mixture of art, skill, science, being a people's person, and being interested in people. When, like Dr. Meenakshi said, when we grew up, we were all really idealistic when we were growing up, which is, I think, a wonderful thing. As I grew up, I realized that it isn't so easy. In India, we are not just treating, illnesses. We are also treating poverty, ignorance, people not understanding what we are telling them because we learnt in English and now we have to tell them in Hindi or even colloquial languages. But then you grow up more and you realize that even these have to be converted into strengths. That, okay, I am going to be the person who helps them understand this quagmire of medicine, the terms, kahan jana hai, kaise karna hai, how to handle their stuff and all. So I became that. So I'm very happy about that. And about the highlights of my career, I would say I'm a really mango woman. And recently my nephew asked me, Masi, are you a very famous doctor? And I said, I don't think I'm famous at all, but I think I'm a very popular doctor, truth be told. So I think that's the highlight of my career, that I have managed to be popular, well liked, and I've sort of earned a lot of goodwill. And I think that's the highlight. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring journey. And what stands out again is the compassion, the warmth, and reaching out to people and their circumstances, understanding their circumstances and responding to those with care. Thank you. We will next hear from Dr. Urvashi Sahni. Dr. Urvashi Sahni is a social entrepreneur. I had not heard of the term till I met her. Let me also tell you that she's come back early this morning after a very, very long journey from USA, where she was for a program. So let's welcome her, because she's just had 2 hours and here she is in our midst. And she did say that I hope my jet lag doesn't make me speak as though I am asleep. But fair warning, she says. So she's an educationist who has been a pioneering activist in the field for more than 4 decades. She has a master's and PhD in education from the University of California, Berkeley, USA. In 2017, she won the Social Entrepreneur of the Year India Award conferred by the Schwab Jubilant Bharatiya Foundation. She's a fellow at Harvard University in the Advanced Leadership Initiative of 2024. This last year, she has been at Harvard University as a senior fellow, which clearly shows you that any stage of your life, you can continue to aspire to be the best version of yourself and reach the greatest heights. In 2020, she co-created Catalyst 2030, a global network of over 800 social entrepreneurs. 8,000. I was given this as 800. So 8,000. Dr. Sahni is an Ashoka Fellow and a non-resident fellow at the Center for Universal Education at the Brookings Institution, USA. She's also a formal member of the Rajasthan's Chief Minister's Advisory Council, heading the education subgroup. The Uttar Pradesh government has nominated her to serve on the steering committee for the implementation of the National Education Policy 2020, and by the National Institute of Open Schooling to serve on their committee for the revision of their gender policy. Combining her activism and research, Dr. Sahni has several publications to her credit. She's a leading expert in curriculum design and reform, teacher training, education governance, with a special focus on girls' education and gender equality. She founded Suraksha, a women's right institution and organization, Didis, a social enterprise for sustainable livelihoods for women, and the Study Hall Educational Foundation, CHEF. Currently, she's the president and CEO of CHEF. Most of you know about the study hall. My niece studied there. and she really did brilliantly because of that education, and I can thank you for it. Over the last 38 years, Dr. Sani's work through Chef has impacted over 1 lakh teachers and 50 lakh children, most of whom are girls from disadvantaged communities. Over to you, Dr. Sani.
Thank you, Amrita, for that glowing introduction. And you know, it's very hard to come after that because you normally disappoint. But thanks very much. First of all, I want to remember Tehrim Auntie very, very fondly. You know, you mentioned all her accomplishments, but above all, what I remember is her warmth and generosity and how she totally welcomed me into the family and made me almost one of hers. So not 5, but 6. Right, so I'm so glad to be here. I also want to let you know, this is my second time in this August hall. The first time was actually almost the first time that I spoke publicly. I had asked you, I had just started Suraksha, and I had asked you if I could come and speak to the girls. And you said, yeah, why don't you come? And you gave me a time. I expected 20, 30 girls in an intimate setting. And there was this hall with 200 girls, and you said, well, go up there and speak. I'm telling you, my legs were shaking. But I managed to do it. And what was the best? They were shaking more because I have great respect for Zareen Vikaji, and she was there. And so she came to me after that and said, oh, you spoke very well. Oh, it made my day. So you actually launched me on this. To just quickly tell you why I do what I do. You know, I didn't have the good fortune to go to college like you all did, and like all my eminent panelists did. I was married, I'm from Pune, and like your parents, my parents were refugees from Pakistan. And my father was a very, very strong patriarch. He firmly believed that girls should be seen, they should not be heard, they should be good housewives, daughters-in-law, obedient, servile, subservient, and education not so important. I did very well at school, and lo and behold, 1 year later, I was married off. And that's how I came to Lucknow through involuntary migration, called marriage also. And I didn't even have a bachelor's, but I was determined to get myself one. So what I did was, I went to Pune University, the registrar, don't know how I found it. The university is huge. I don't know how I found it, but I did. I had 2 pigtails. And I said, you know, I'm getting married and I do want to get a bachelor's. So I'm a good student. So will you just waive the attendance and I'll come here and give my exams. There was no policy. But you know, I think, good man, he just saw the earnestness of this young girl and he said, yes, we. So then I would study by myself. I got all the books, came here, found the libraries, found the books, and I would study in the morning from 6 to 9, not to disturb my mother-in-law. She used to wake up at 9. And I got my bachelor's. It felt like the most important thing I had ever done. And guess what? So the girl who never went to college is now got a PhD in education, and the only PhD in my family, by the way. Anyway, then what happened? In 1982, actually my work was born out of a personal tragedy. I get a phone call from my mother in Pune one afternoon. We lived very close by. I was with my daughters, they were very little. And she said, you should rush to Delhi immediately. So I said, kyun, kya ho gaya? So she says, you know, your cousin, Nalini, has been burnt. Tum jaldi se chali jao, hum log bhi aa rahe hain. So I went and I said, kya hua kaise? How did she get burnt? So he said, kuch stove phat gaya. It didn't occur to me to ask. I mean, kaun sa stove phat jata hai? And when I got there, she had died. And they passed it off as a suicide, but it turned out to be a dowry murder. I can't tell you how it shook the earth from beneath my feet. And the reactions of people shook me even more. Some said, oh, she's brought shame to the family. Another one said, the older generation, कि आजकल की लड़कियों को तो बर्दाश्त ही नहीं है. एक ने कहा, the younger one, चल मुक्ति मिली. And guess what did I say? It's never going to be me. So when I came to Lucknow, I said, I have to do something. I thought I'll set up a helpline. But you know, wiser heads, and I remember Suniti Verma then, she said, no, we should set up an organization. And that's how Suraksha was born. Pratima Bhatia is here. She was my fellow journey person, and Zareen, you were on our board too. And in the DM's office here, we founded Suraksha, which was meant to help women. And I'm very proud to say it still exists. And then what happened was I started with gender, not with education. I had never any intention of doing that. Then I started coming to schools and colleges, including yours. You'd heard the knee-shaking episode. And started talking to girls about gender. I said we should prevent it. Doing that, I found that suddenly the penny dropped. I said, all these girls, all of you, and like me, when I was in your place, I said, we all got this high quality education, Loreto, St. Mary's, La Martiniere. But guess what? Not so high quality. Because it didn't teach us the important lesson that we are equal persons, deserving of respect, and having the right to live our life according to our own choice. So I started looking at education very carefully. And then I was so fortunate. I met Ahalya Chari in Rajghat. She was the director of the Krishnamurti Foundation and also the one who founded the Kendriya Vidyalayas. Much older woman, she mentored me. And she said, beta, tum school kholo. I said, school? No, not my thing. I don't have a B.Ed. She said, but you have the right questions. And so I said, you can start with questions? And she says, you can. And that's when I started study hall in my house, very close here, with 6 children. And Zareen's niece was one of the first. And today we have 4 schools, a college, we have 100 community-based centers, and we partner with 1,000 government schools. I've married my feminist instinct with education. And I believe truly that education is a very, very powerful social and individual transformative force, provided it is transformed. And I'll tell you more about that later. But just to say that where you begin is not where you end, right? I'm going to be 70 this month. And I am so, so fortunate to have found the mentors that I found, to have been able to turn my deprivations into my biggest strengths, and to have had the opportunity to serve many young girls and to transform their lives. Thank you.
A hugely inspiring journey, Urvashi, which has impacted lakhs and lakhs of lives. Thank you for sharing. We now will request Mrs. Zora Chatterjee to share with us her journey, her life story. And I have a privilege to introduce her. Ms. Zora Chatterjee is a 1979 batch IS officer, had a distinguished career across Uttar Pradesh and the central government. In UP, she spearheaded e-governance initiatives like e-Suvidha and Lokwani. In Delhi, she established the Electronic Media Monitoring Center, contributed to landmark legal amendments at the National Commission for Women, and became the first woman CMD of Coal India. She was awarded the prestigious Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Public Administration. She became Member Secretary, National Commission for Women on promotion as Additional Secretary, and was associated with drafting landmark amendments to the Criminal Law Amendment Bill and the Act for Prevention of Harassment of Women at the Workplace. She has a passionate interest in handlooms, handicrafts, design development, and skilling. As Textile Secretary, she promoted handlooms and established the Hastakala Academy. She has represented India at many international forums like the UN Women and WIPO. Mrs. Chatterjee is a graduate in physics from Miranda House, New Delhi. She did her post-graduation in English literature and had her schooling in Loreto Convent, Lucknow, where she won the Inter Loreto Gold Medal and Trophy for the best all-round student for 3 years running. Before joining the IAS, she was a lecturer in English literature at IT College, Lucknow. Her many interests include painting, photography, dramatics, and writing. Post-retirement, she founded the UP Institute of Design and serves on various boards, including the News Broadcasting Standards Authority. She is currently an independent director of many top companies of India and is pursuing a PhD in Avadh's cultural renaissance. So we again have another versatile speaker who will share her insights on her journey.
Thank you, Amrita. I'm really grateful to you for inviting me to this Tehrim Das Memorial Dialogue. It's a very special invitation for me because I must share with all of you that it was Auntie Gypsy, Mrs. Tehrim Das, who gave me my first job. It was at the Center for Women's Studies at IT College, and she invited me to join her in her social work. And she made me the editor of the first magazine that we took out, the News Link. I was very happy to have come across this magazine in my books, in my collection yesterday. And my work with her and this cover design, which I personally designed, because I like to draw, and so I designed this. And this kind of symbolizes what became both my purpose in life and my passion. As a young girl, I would say my passion really was leaning towards creativity. I enjoyed drawing, painting, embroidery, making soft toys, and reading, dramatics, all of that. My ambition was to be an architect, but back then, parental controls were strong and options were not that many. And we didn't have this wonderful institute like the Institute of Career Studies set up by Amrita about 10 years later to guide us into a channel where purpose could meet passion. Many of the speakers before me have been fortunate to have aligned purpose with passion. But sometimes that may not be so if you have not had the right counseling or the methods used by ICS to scientifically map your potential and work out your passion and the best path open to you. So back then, taking the bank or the IAS examination was quite the done thing, and anyone with any kind of average or more than average intelligence would do that. And only after that, then you looked around for other avenues. So I also ended up taking the IAS exam. And there was also an environment at home, I should say. I'm a third generation bureaucrat, in fact. My father as well as grandfather before me were civil servants. And within the family, there's a galaxy of great personalities associated with progressive writers movement, with politics, with freedom fighting. And so public service was very much in my DNA, so to speak. And so it was that I joined the IAS, and I was very zealous about public service, which I took as my purpose in life. To begin with, it was as SDM here in this district, as SDM Mohanlalganj, I would be out in the fields plotting land out to be allotted to the landless and other such activities. And my subordinates used to be horrified when I would say that, look, you are public servants. Aap naukar ho, malik nahi. And that was the spirit with which one approached work. And I remembered the dictum during our training: an administrator's job is to get the job done. And so I would try to get the job done with a great gusto, and I wanted everything done in time. I believe I was a hard taskmaster. But the rewards came, and I was very encouraged to receive the President's Medal for being the first district in Unnao for completing census operations in the country in 1991. So that was an encouragement. Later on, for Project Lokwani, we received recognition through the Prime Minister's Award, which Amrita mentioned. And there were also other things which I could do more aligned with my passion because of my association with handicrafts and handlooms for quite a long period. So I could work in that field. And setting up the UP Institute of Design, a project which I had envisioned as additional director and then taken through as director industries, secretary industries, and ultimately brought to the ground as the Institute of Design in Lucknow, were some of the highlights or successes, one may say. And so is the Hastkala Academy in Delhi. But I would say the greatest highlight of my career was organizing the Taj 350 Years of Glory at Agra. This is where purpose met passion. I was doing my duty as the Director General Tourism and Secretary Tourism. And we could organize this wonderful cultural extravaganza in the short space of 3 months. It was a challenge. I had taken charge from a Director General, and even the minister had just been changed, and this program had been drawn up, but everyone said, forget it now, it can't be done. But I took on the challenge, and we had the best artists of the country performing at the Diwane-Aam. We had Ghulam Ali, we had Hariharan, we had Pandit Shiv Shankar Sharma. Can you imagine in the Diwane-Aam in the Agra fort, these wonderful performances? And in the Fatehpur Sikri, we had Amjad Ali Khan, we had Javed Akhtar, we had Manjuri Chaturvedi doing the Kathak. So this was just wonderful. And it was a moment when purpose met passion, and there it was. And I would say lastly that throughout this journey, the mentors were most important. I was fortunate to have them. ICS wasn't there, but there were mentors. Mrs. Moini Manglik was one who helped me through the IAS. And all through, that is one thing which everyone should look out for. People who understand your passion and can mentor you along the right paths. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. In fact, when you were talking about the Taj festival, I thought, I wish we could do a rewind of it and have it happen again, and or something in Lucknow. So let's hope.
Yes, I never let anyone do anything after that. This is probably the one program which happened there.
So we have had this very, very fascinating insight from our four speakers, and a recurring theme is aligning purpose with passion for each one. So that's a very big message for all of us, to seek our true calling or callings in life and to connect with that. Our swadharma. Swadharma is purpose in life. Because if we connect with that, it'll give us purpose, meaning, fulfillment, recognition, and the ability to make a difference. What is more, we have santushti, deep inner satisfaction. Also, all the speakers talked about the importance of having mentors. Parents as mentors, let's recognize their role. Friends as mentors, teachers as mentors. So these are two very important takeaways from your most inspiring talks. My next question is for Dr. Prerna Kapoor. What's the one thing you wish you had known earlier in your journey that would have helped you unlock your true potential sooner?
I have, of course, come upon this wisdom at 58 years of age. And I think that maybe younger women can, gain from it earlier. So I think that if there's something I would reflect upon or revisit or rethink, it would be cutting the clutter. So, there's a cacophony of noises around us, especially as working women or working moms. We are always being judged. Someone or the other is always saying something. तुम सब्जी यहीं से खरीद लेती हो, तुम मसाला यहाँ घर का पिसा हुआ नहीं खाती हो. Something or the other like that. But well, my kids grew up on that. They are alive, healthy, doing extremely well, extremely intelligent girls. And me and my husband are also alive and, living. So I would have cut this clutter. I would have not listened to any of these noises. I'm sure I still didn't pay heed to them. But why did I even, waste one bit of mind space on noises which were not useful but detrimental? And at the same time, there are a lot of, like you all said, I also had a lot of mentors. So there are a lot of mentors, and especially in my case, working moms. Because as young doctors, me and my husband were both trying to climb up that teetering, tottering ladder of career, and had two small daughters, no parents or in-laws to help with. So I would have listened even more to the other women peers who would have who were giving a lot of sane advice. There are a lot of such people who will give such advice. I did delegate a lot, but I would delegate even more. And I would have more house helps. I would delegate more, and I would just leave out all the clutter and sift out all of that, and only listen to my own sense of purpose, and of course the people around me who are telling me practical stuff to get me going. So that, I think, would have been something which would have helped, and I would have wasted less time feeling bad about myself and double questioning, double guessing all my choices. Am I doing right? Am I doing wrong? That kind of thing. So that's my takeaway.
It really is hard hitting, but so true. My next question is an interesting one, which is, what's the most important life lesson you've learned about yourself, and how has it impacted your personal and professional growth? Dr. Meenakshi Pahwa.
Thank you, Amrita. I think it's a very, very decisive question that defines my life. What is that one big life lesson? As I have already hinted earlier, that I had this bilkul Arjun Drishti, Bagula Drishti of pursuing academic excellence to the exclusion of other life skills. तो ये जहन में ही नहीं आया कि कुछ और भी चीज़ें ज़िंदगी में हैं जो सीखनी है, बस डिवीज़न है वो बचा लो, ये कर लो. And I wasn't competitive with others. Those of you who have known me would endorse that. I was bettering my own standards. That was one big difference, because I was very generous in sharing of my study material, because I was pretty confident in my space of knowing that there's spot for everybody under the sun, and it doesn't have to be cutthroat. You don't have to kind of belittle or shortchange people to reach wherever you aspire to reach. But somewhere, as I said, I was completely divested of life skills. I got married, and I'm fortunate to have my sister-in-law, my Jethani, right here in the audience, because she doesn't acknowledge it and admit it. But it was a very, very important role she played. I didn't know how to drape a sari, so every time we had to go for a social event, She would come to my part of, there are two houses independent, so she would come, get ready, and at times, those rare occasions when I was ready first, I would go to her room and get a sari draped. Similarly, with cooking, often what happens is that, and particularly now, it's kind of you're fighting this whole idea of gendered roles and how and why should women be cooking. I'm afraid I have an absolutely different narrative to that through my own experience. And that is that at one point when what used to happen, my husband was very fond of entertaining. We had friends coming over. All good things appeared because she was behind the scenes. We had excellent cooks, but that final touches she would give, churn out a good dessert, and I would be in my innocent bliss. I was not shirking my responsibility. I was blissfully ignorant that I needed to contribute. So, what happened one day? Suddenly, my parent-in-laws used to go off to the hills, and they were there as a routine practice, and we got a distress call that my mother-in-law was very unwell, not critically, but unwell enough that my Jethani had to rush to be the caregiver. So coincidentally, my husband here also had a viral infection and was grounded. So she was making all those feel-good meals for him, and I was simply making sure that he had them. That was my role. So she said, "Are you sure you'll do the baked spinach?" And I thought I could. I said, yeah, I will. But that baked spinach didn't bake for 5 hours. And it kept bubbling because what I had missed was the important point, was the boiling, pre-boiling before it went into the oven. So Mr. Spinach took its own time to bake. And it was 10:30, I vividly remember, and my husband, being the person he was, the wind beneath my wings, he said, "Never mind, just give me some toast." That's the moment when I had the epiphany, what we call the truth be told. And I was like a worm. I felt that what use was those gold medals and first divisions, which didn't equip me to feed my sick husband to recovery. And that's the time I decided, though the joke in the family was before marriage and even after marriage, because I was fortunate enough to have a family in the Maika and the in-laws who continued the continuum of spoiling me, that good food must appear from nowhere without my moving a finger. And that's precisely what was happening all the years long. But that night, something within me changed. So I decided to pick up the gauntlet, and the habit in me is to chase perfection without being a pain to others. I tried to do the best I could, and when I joined, had rather the misfortune of stepping into the great shoes of Ms. Zareen Vikaji on an ad hoc leave vacancy here, I would go blue in the face telling young girls that how important it was to cook. They didn't know the backstory, but I was just professing that how important a skill it is. So what I'm trying to tell is that it didn't end there. That part I took charge, and well, I'm often complimented that I keep a good table, but the desire to have good food appearing from nowhere still persists because basic traits don't change. On the serious side, after my husband passed away, which is going to be 10 years now, I was again absolutely shattered and shaken because everything was taken care of. I had never done banking. I don't say this with a flourish, with a sense of pride. I say it with deep introspection of self-awareness now, and that's the reason why I said it's a very, very defining moment in my life. I didn't know a thing. My brother-in-law, my Jade, hand-held me for a couple of years. I hadn't operated a family locker. I didn't know if the car went pat, what had to be done. Mechanics would appear from nowhere, and we had everything going on well-oiled wheels. So there is lots that we need to think, to learn, to be able to live a meaningful life. I don't give much emphasis to success because that's a very relative term. I don't. What I mean is to give meaning to your life is that you have to know what all you can learn, and it doesn't end there. Now I'm taking up the challenge of learning ChatGPT and all these other AI tools that are going to be part of our technology-driven 21st century. You can't sit pretty and say, oh, everything will take care, because I see so many people falling off the radar because they can't do phone pay or Google Pay and so on and so forth. So I won't say young girls only. I think all young people, all people of all age groups need to be lifelong learners, need to be enthusiastic about every challenge that comes their way rather than to wallow in self-pity. Thank you.
Dr. Urvashi Sahni, would you like to reflect on this topic? What's the most important life lesson you've learned about yourself, and how has it impacted your personal and professional growth?
Mine is a little different, the story. Because, my parents, my father particularly, thought that the only important skill I should have is to learn how to cook. Every summer, I was supposed to learn how to cook rajma, very important in Punjabi households. So I developed an aversion to it. I said, not a thing I really want to learn. Anyway, in terms of what was the most important life skill, just before that, on mentorship, since we've all spoken. Again, I think the important thing that mentors do, and I know they did that for me, that they see in you potential that you don't see. I didn't think I could start a school. She said, of course you can. I didn't think I could do my MA. And my mentor then, almost a surrogate mother, Miss Vinita Vachu, she said, yes, beta, you can. And I did. When I went to Berkeley, I only went for my master's. My professor there, Anne Dyson, she said, you have to do your PhD. And I did. So if not for them, there would be no study hall, there would be no PhD, and there would be no me the way I am. So mentors, truly very important. In terms of the lesson, and the sad part is that even now, I think many girls, maybe some of you too, need to learn it. I come from a family we are the first generation high school graduates in my family. No illustrious people in our family, just very hardworking, industrious people. And so education not so big, and also extremely gendered family, where the gender norms and roles very clearly defined. My brothers would go to play cricket, I would iron their clothes and mine, right? Very clear. They went to engineering college, etc., and I got married. Many years later, actually, this was the defining moment. I think I was 28, mother of 2, in the middle of the night. You know how sometimes, that moment. I said, you know what? I'm actually an equal person. And I have the right to my life. I have the right to do what I want and not always do what is expected of me. What are the roles and responsibilities that are thrust upon me, right? And that really helped. And the second thing, I had been very angry with my father, who, by the way, I deeply love. And he became my biggest fan in the end and biggest donor and supporter. I was very angry. He married me off, didn't give me this, And then I realized the other important lesson was, again, it was an insight, that it is not the men, it's not their fault, it's the system. It's the patriarchal system that is at fault. And that's very important to fight. And it was very liberating. Liberating and overwhelming. Liberating because you don't want to hate the men you want to love. You want to love them, right? Why do we want to live with that burden? And overwhelming because individuals I can fight. How do you fight a system? So then the way I found was by educating people, teaching them that they are equal persons. And why do women need that lesson? Not just women, also Dalits, also all the oppressed people. We internalize the oppressor and we believe that we are not equal. So we don't aspire because we can't see the pathway. We don't protest because we don't think we have the right to protest. So it's very important, and that's the linchpin and the key I've found. The moment you can get people to understand, as I did, that you're equal and you have the right to respect and to autonomy, which is denied to women, then they run. And that was the wing behind my wings. So again, to all of you, young girls, I've spent a lot of time and continue to do that. And let me tell you, it's not just at this age. I once gave a talk at KGMU. And the funny story is, when I was I was the keynote, can you imagine? And I'm not a medical doctor. And so I was sitting there, and there was an introduction, and he was saying, and now Dr. Sahani is going to come and give us a lot of wisdom about some medical stuff. I didn't know where to run. I said, what medical stuff? Do they know I'm not a medical doctor? Anyway, I came there and managed the situation. First, full disclosure, not a medical doctor. Anyway, we went out for tea after that, and the women who were readers, who were lecturers, who were professors, they said, you know, all the stuff you said about women feeling that they are second class and accepting it in their own families, they said, we also feel like that. So, very important, you know. And to add to this, you know, that of course girls, we should all learn how to cook, important skill. Boys should also learn how to cook. How come they don't? Why is it not an important skill for them? Right? So I think it is an important, we should, each one of us learn how to step outside. Like, for example, Meenakshi said, I mean, at this age, and look how accomplished she is, right? Who can be so accomplished? And yet she didn't know simple things like banking, etc., 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 etc. Not because she couldn't learn them, because nobody thought women should do these things. Don't worry your pretty head. We'll take care of that. Okay. Why women should learn all of that? And why should men not learn how to cook, clean, care for children, change diapers? Not rocket science. They can learn it. हाथ पैर तो नहीं टूटे भाई, तो करो ना. तो घर में भी, बाहर में भी, let us all work together, right? And equal means 2 equals 2. So on both ends of the equation, they must be equal, right? So if I learn I'm an equal, I would love it if boys suddenly wake up and realize, oh, hey, we are equal, which means what? Women are equal too. And so then let's treat them like that.
Add to what Dr. Urvashi just said and Dr. Meenakshi had said earlier. So in my OPD, it's an understood thing that I will give them some lesson about equality and gender, because I meet families, not just one woman or one man, and we know how things are. So I do it in a witty and empathetic manner, but I always make sure that I, you know, डॉक्टर प्रेरणा की ओपीडी में जो बेचारा आ गया कुछ ना कुछ लेसन लेकर ही जाएगा. So there was this couple, very sweet young couple in their late 20s or maybe early 30s, and both are in equal sort of jobs. Both are nursing professionals in different institutions, and two very small, very cute kids, and the wife is underweight and so stressed. Husband is a very sweet guy, but standing smiling. So then I was just asking them, Ke kya rehta hai? Why are you so stressed and all? She said, because I have to do so much household work and I have 2 small kids. I have a full-time job also. So I said, but what does your husband do? So husband just smiled helplessly कि मैं तो क्या ही कर सकता हूँ भाई मुझे तो नहीं आता है. So she said, ma'am, he has neither interest nor skills. So I said, yeah, nobody has interest in every possible chore, let me tell you. But that still doesn't preclude him from doing his share, like Dr. Urvashi said. She said, ma'am, my kids start crying and said, please protect us from Papa's cooking. We will die, we can't eat it. So I said, fair point. Children should survive. You know, they should grow up to be adults. So that's fine. But कोई आधा पोछा लगे फर्श से नहीं मर जाता है और कम अच्छे धुले कपड़े से नहीं मर जाता है. Allot him these duties. उनको बोलो he should help with the sweeping and swabbing and he should wash the clothes. He can start with, he can take up these chores. And she was saying, and he's still standing there. He's a very sweet guy actually, but he's still standing there smiling कि मैम तो मजाक ही कर रही होंगी. I said, ये मजाक नहीं है, तुम एक एक्सेल शीट बनाओगे और मेरे पास अगली बार लेकर आओगे जो है, और ये जो है कि यू आर गोइंग टू शो मी कि तुमने क्या क्या काम कौन कौन से हफ्ते में किया, एंड हाउ डिड यू कीप एडिंग ऑन टू दैट टिल बोथ ऑफ यू आर इक्वल. एंड नो, प्लीज डोंट कुक, दैट्स फाइन, protect your kids. So after that they came, I think after about a month, they were still smiling. Husband had lost 5 kilos, wife had gained 6 kilos, her hemoglobin had gone up from 9 to 11, and so they are equal in every respect now. So yes, these things are very important, and they are like tiny things which we don't even think about.
Wonderful. So, consultants, BCG, Boston Consulting Group, kitna padh ke aap udhar milte ho, lakhon ki naukri hai. So now there was this woman, she was in Rajasthan, and her time was Monday to Thursday. She had to be in Rajasthan, she was married, and then she would go and spend the weekend in Bombay, where she lived. Pati wahin pe kaam karta tha. So her colleague, also a consultant, he says, मैं ना बताओ, आप तो यहाँ इतना रहती हो, तो वो तुम्हारा अविनाश करता क्या है फिर, कैसे होता है? तो she says, अभिषेक तुम बताओ, तुम यहाँ 4 दिन रहते हो जैसे मैं रहती हूँ, तो तुम्हारी बीवी क्या करती है फिर? ये नहीं समझ में आया that hey, it is really equal. So I think there's one lesson, that to understand what equality means, and it is your right. जब औरतें करती हैं ना, ये होता है अरे तुम बराबरी की बात करती हो, it's almost seen as a transgression. It's not a transgression. It's your human right. The motto, the vision of our organization is to educate everyone, girls, boys, and others, for gender equality, social justice, caste another big blight on our country, and personal flourishing, of course, and active democratic citizenship. Equality is the cornerstone of democracy. And unless we have gender equality, I think one of you said, you mentioned, that a country is measured by the status of their women. Unless we can have gender equality and other kinds of equality in this country, we'll never be a full democracy. You cannot be a democracy with a feudal mindset. And so we are laughing about this. It's an important thing. Everyone will stand at pulpits and say, we are so wonderful, औरतों को वो सब कुछ करना चाहिए जो मर्द करते हैं. So I asked one gentleman, बड़े थे मुझसे बहुत, मैं कहा सर, और वो मर्द वो सब कब करेंगे जब जो सब औरतें करती हैं? When will the men do everything that women do? So he looked at me, हाँ वो क्या?
Adding to what Dr. Prerna and Dr. Urvashi Sani have shared, I had this sense, and I had seen no gender discrimination in my entire growing up years. So when school friends or college friends talked about how brothers being discriminated, or rather they are being discriminated against their siblings, it wouldn't, not that I distrusted them, but it wouldn't make any sense to me because I had never savored it. I was never a recipient of that kind of upbringing. However, this would be, my son was barely 8 or 10. And I told you that epiphany moment, that moment of truth had appeared. So I made sure that in his summer vacations, which I had never done, my little podgy hands of my son, he was rolling out rotis because that was something that I felt. And I said, no, there will be no Amma-like wife in the years to come. She is going to have her own passion to pursue, and she'll stick a sticker on the refrigerator, darling, fix your own breakfast. So you're not going to go hungry. And I can very well, in absolute humility, say that today, no matter what other things I may be concerned with, I'm definitely confident and as sure as death that my son will never go hungry, and it doesn't have to be his mother or his whosoever life partner to make him feel good about food.
Okay, so to all the ladies present here, please stop calling the men your boyfriends or husbands cute when they boil water. Please, कि बहुत काम करते हैं, इतने sweet हैं, आज इन्होंने पानी उबाल दिया था वगैरह. Please, like Dr. Meenakshi said, please, men also need to be trained, to survive, to eat, to cook for themselves, and the people in their families. The other point is, of course, that, you know, like Dr. Urvashi also said, that when you get married, please don't short sell yourselves. Please make sure that Dr. Amrita Das also said that please, look for these things in your partner, and not just lofty sentences. ये जो अभी आज मदर्स डे पे आप सबको बहुत सारे ऐसे विशेष आएंगे, माँ के आंसू, औरत जो सैक्रिफाइस करती है, औरत का आंचल, प्लीज ना माँ को आंसू की जरूरत होगी ना औरत को सैक्रिफाइस की. आप बराबरी का दर्जा दीजिए, बराबरी से कंधा दीजिए और काम करिए ना, अपने मजबूत कंधे इस्तेमाल करिए, तो ये सब की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. सो दिस इज समथिंग दैट बोथ men and women need to work on. We are not underselling ourselves, and men to bring themselves to that level of equality. Thank you.
And like Meenakshi said, raise your sons well. Even more important. Very important to raise your sons well.
So, before we open it to the audience for questions and answers, I request Mrs. Zora Chatterjee to share a personal story of overcoming significant challenge. How did you tackle it, and what did you learn from it?
My entire career was one big challenge. There were challenges upon challenges, mostly relating to law and order. The nice challenge I just related to you, which was delivering a great cultural extravaganza in record time. And but how you tackle it would be basically a mixture of a knowledge of what you are tackling, foresight, quick thinking, taking people along, and looking ahead basically as to how this situation could develop and how it needs to be tackled, and plugging in the loopholes. So I can narrate one big challenge I faced. In fact, as district magistrate Unnao, there was happened to be challenge upon challenge in a very brief period. There was first the Mandal agitation to deal with, people burning themselves. Then there was the Saddam Hussein war, so there was diesel crisis, marpeet at petrol pumps. Then there was the Ram Janam Bhoomi agitation, where car sevaks were arriving in the thousands to be incarcerated in jails. And finally, there was the general election. And just before that, Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated. His ashes were going around in a train. And the train stopped at Unnao station also, and the people were supposed to file past. And we had made elaborate arrangements and for the people to file past with the ballis and all of that. But as it happened that the train did not stop where it was supposed to stop, and the people could not file past in an orderly manner. So there was this crowd was tending to surge forward. And then the police wala picked up his lathi. And there would have been a lathi charge, there would be mayhem, you don't know what could have happened. And so at the spur of the moment, I just jumped up and caught his hand and said in the loudest possible voice, "मैं जिलाधिकारी हूँ, तुम्हें किसने आदेश दिया लाठी उठाने का?" There was such shocked silence on the part of the Sipahi as well as everybody around that the moment was over. And it's the moment you have to arrest. And the train filed past. The people realized things are happening. The station master and all of them, the train moved on. So the thing here is a challenge you overcome by quick thinking. There's not time to, sit and examine what you should do, but you have to think immediately and act.
Yes, be fearless. Raise your voice when you have to raise your voice, and it'll have an immediate impact. You've been a wonderful audience, and we have had such an enriching conversation. So many life lessons for all of us. We'd love you to now have a conversation with our speakers. Please ask any question that you have and they would be happy to address it.
As a politician, I would love to seek your guidance on what are the key changes that would be required on the mindset, leadership, and policy making to achieve gender equality.
That's a wonderful question. We have in our midst Mr. Saif Ali Naqvi, who's the General Secretary of the Congress Party and has come specially from Delhi to be here because he was very fond of my parents.
I'm so glad you asked. You do need equal participation in the parliament, on all leadership, in political leadership. What I'm delighted to find is that women voters are making their presence felt, making their votes count, and parties are sitting up and taking notice, right? So I think it's important to look at women's issues and to move them. I have a very specific ask, really. I don't know whether that's a political issue or it's but it is, because you're lawmakers, right? I'm appalled, really truly appalled, that in 2025, we are having difficulty recognizing marital rape as a crime. And I founded a feminist coalition, and we are working very hard to make sure that this legislation does pass. Because, there's no record of it, but let me tell you, incestuous sexual violence, that means sexual violence within families, is much higher than the 4 rapes an hour that exist in our country. So I think you need to take strong action, one, for safety of women. Why are the streets not safe for us? They belong as much to us as to men. Why aren't they safe? Why aren't they safe? What are we doing about it? Why is that not an issue that should really drive the elections as well? And there should be laws, there should be swift action. It should become a priority, that's one. And safety on the streets and safety at home. Domestic violence became a law in 2005. I mean, give me a break, right? And look at the figures. Reported figures are that 1 in 2 people, or 2 women, has faced domestic violence. And then those are highly underreported, okay? So, and even the rape, 18 dowry murders a day. I mean, come on. Right? So we need, one, from the politicians, one, to make the laws that we need. Secondly, to implement them very, very strongly. Child marriage, we have 1/3 of the world's child brides in India, leading capital, and UP amongst the highest. So why aren't we making registration of marriages compulsory? Why aren't we nulling and voiding the early marriages? Why don't we have campaigns like you have for healthcare? For polio, we eradicated it. Why can't we do that? I think that's because women aren't a priority. So we should make them a priority. It's 50% of a population. And as you're fast realizing, 50% of your vote. And now they are not voting as their husbands want. They do their own. Many of them.
Mr. Naqvi, do table a legislation regarding this rape in marriage. It's very, very important. We request you to table it at the earliest. And it will be an outcome of our meeting here.
Section 498A of the IPC was introduced, as she mentioned, in 2005 to penalize domestic violence. What we need along with it is a change in mindset, of course, of the lawmakers and the law implementers. Because when I was member secretary, National Commission for Women, I had to face a parliamentary committee of the parliament where they were debating about section 498A, whether it should continue because it was being weaponized against men and the family and being used as a means of punishing them and using the woman as an excuse. And so this section, because it was being so widely misused, should we do away with it? And I was glad that I could vehemently argue against it and say that, look, there is every section of the IPC which can be misused, which is misused. It depends on the party which has deep pockets, which can hire good lawyers to use or misuse it. So why should one section through which some women get reprieve Why should you be debating that so heatedly? And debate the entire IPC if you will. But this is an important section and must continue.
Not just that, you know, always when there is anything that even slightly threatens men, and again to reiterate one more time that this is not men against women. Actually, everybody gains, by the way. Do you know what the rate of male suicide is? 4 men to 1 woman. So clearly the system is not working for them also. It's important to change it, right? And so it's very important that we have protections for everyone. And why is the domestic sphere the biggest sphere of tyranny? Nobody has spoken about the tyranny of the in-laws as yet, right? And also the tyranny of, you know, like we were mentioning earlier, men when they go out to get a job, तब कपड़ा भी धोते हैं, रोटी भी बना लेते हैं, झाड़ू पोछा सब कर लेते हैं. बीवी आई नहीं कि हाथ पैर टूटे नहीं. Right? So my point is the domestic area, because it's private and because we have, oh, families shouldn't be touched, is where all of this happens. It needs to be looked at very carefully, and you need protections there, most importantly. Right? So which is why Suraksha was founded as a family counseling cell, and it was the first one in UP. And we still do that because we look at the domestic sphere very, very carefully.
Happy International Women's Day to everybody present over here. And it's been a really nice session, and it's really inspiring to know all of your journeys. But my question is, a person becomes successful, like all 5 of you sitting over there. Everybody is looking at just the glory and all the success part of it. But I'm pretty sure all of you faced very different challenges in all of your different fields. So how did you overcome those challenges? And secondly, sometimes it's really difficult. So, you are not able to find a solution to it on your own. So you're really disappointed. So, from where did you find the will of still keeping on, going on the journey and not, leaving it? So, yeah.
That's a really great question.
Thank you.
The most important aspect is believe in yourself. You must have a support system and reach out for help when you need that help. There are many pitfalls in our journey. It's never smooth. So when you hit a roadblock or when you're low, and when you feel the world is coming to an end, spiritual strength helps. So, connect with your deep inner self. We are connected with the internet, but disconnected with the inner net. So when we connect with our inner selves, we are able to really derive wisdom from our inner voice, which guides us. And so believe in yourself, believe in your goal, believe in your journey, and get the support you need.
We are talking about women empowerment and how we should get equal opportunities. But don't you think it's more of a theoretical concept in the real world? It's not being practiced.
Child, 1 second. I told you how I began. And here I am. My nani was married at 13. My mother at 16. I at 18. My daughter at 32. One is not married. Average bilkul pura theek ho gaya. Right? My point is things do change. They have changed. You would not be sitting here many years from now. You're there. Right? And who is going to change it? It's not a theoretical concept, sweetie. It's very important. And if each one of you decides, one, that you're going to change things in your own life, and at least impact 5 more, there's a lot you can do. Not just that. Again, women's empowerment and women's equality, we were talking about it earlier, it's a human issue. It's not just a women's issue. What we do at Chef also is that we have the same critical feminist pedagogy for all our boys. Boys need to be empowered in egalitarian thinking as well. Right? And so it's not a theoretical, sweetie. I just told you how many people are dying.
Yes.
Is terrorism a theoretical ending? Is that a theoretical concept?
No, not at all.
Correct. Now, you know, I think more women die, and there's a whole research somebody has done. It's called Half the Sky. Read that book. He says more women have died in the 20th century by routine gendercide than all the men in all the wars. It can't be theoretical. It just can't be. It has to be practically solved. And people are solving it. And we have demonstrated. We are here, no? Big, fat, good. So then it's possible. All right? So I think you should banish one thing you should understand, not God-given, not natural. It is human-made by people like us, and it can be unmade. And so take every step, think critically, and take every step to fight it. Okay? Fight the gender norms, even the religious norms that you think are inegalitarian, that are discriminatory, you know, and perish the thought that it is theoretical. We have made strides, and if all of us get together, there is no limit to what we can do.
This is a very important question you asked, by the way. कोई देगा नहीं हमें थाली परोस के, हमें खुद ही करना है अपने लिए, है ना? तो we have to be aware of this. हमें खुद अपनी लड़ाई लड़नी है, जो कि like you know, it's not कि आप हर समय तलवार लेके ही लड़ाई लड़ते हो. मृदुला गर्ग की एक कहानी है, मेरे संग की औरतें. उसमें उसने अपनी माँ के बारे में बोला कि सब लड़ाइयाँ बैटलफील्ड पे नहीं लड़ी जाती, और मेरी माँ ने एकदम एक कंजर्वेटिव फैमिली में रहकर आज़ाद ख्याल के साथ में वो रही. सो इन माई केस ऑल्सो माई नानी वॉज कम्प्लीटली अनएजुकेटेड, एजुकेटेड हर 4 daughters. माई मदर इज़ एन एक्सट्रीमली स्ट्रॉन्ग पर्सन. You know, उनके बारे में कोई माँ के आंसू, माँ के आंचल कविता कह ही नहीं सकता. शी इज़ अ बैटल एक्स. सो शी इज़ बिन अ रियल रोल मॉडल. सो बहुत चीज़ें लड़के ली जाती हैं, लेकिन मुस्कुराते हुए भी लड़ सकते हैं और गुस्से से भी लड़ सकते हैं. लड़ने के बहुत पहलू होते हैं, लेकिन हमें जो आगे की वो चलना है वो जारी रखना है. ठीक है, जब रोड ब्लॉक हिट करो, रुको, रास्ता बदलो, औरों की मदद लो, पर चलते रहो आगे की तरफ.
Thank you so much.
I'll just respond to what you said about where are the tears and everything couldn't have been hunky-dory. It never is. Life is, the moment we take birth, it is a matter of struggle. You know, when a newborn is born and comes out of the womb, he or she is struggling to survive because the atmosphere of the womb is not there in the outside environment. So struggle is intrinsic to life, number one. We cannot live in some kind of a vacuum which has these very imaginatory, romantic idea of what life is all about, roses and valentines. And not to say that the whole idea of Valentine has been completely blown out of proportion. That's not germane to our discussion. But my simple, humble confession to the August gathering is, while we are fighting, let us also look at the silver lining, as Dr. Urvashi Sahni said. And a dramatic change can never be good for any society. However, having said that, I know in my immediate environment and the nephews and the nieces that have got married, they are very responsibly sharing the, you know, domestic space responsibilities in every sphere. But I must, to the chagrin of other esteemed panelists, I have a little disclaimer here. Let us not make it us versus them. But what I mean is that this whole militancy shouldn't come. It should be in a harmonious way.
Yes,
and
totally.
As Dr. Sahni said, let us look at what is changing. And yes, the system is too deeply entrenched. Let us look at the silver lining and continue not to give up. And that's what I remember of Tennyson, to strive, to seek, and not to yield. Thank you.
Thank you. So as we come to a close of this very, very insightful, inspiring, and interesting dialogue, I'm sure we'll all go away with lots of lessons, life lessons to reflect on. So I would underscore the fact that dare to dream, break stereotypical barriers, and shatter the glass ceiling. join with empowered men. So empowered women join with empowered women to bring about that change in society. We can do it together. Let's do it together. So as we reflect on the progress made towards gender equality, we are reminded of the work yet to be done. So let's move beyond celebrating March 8th as the day to reflect and to make, I would say, various promises to ourselves and to others, but let every day be a day of celebrating life and making a difference. Thank you all very much. I would like to thank each speaker, Dr. Meenakshi Pahwa, let's give her a round of applause, Dr. Prerna Kapoor, Dr. Urvashi Sani, and Mrs. Zora Chatterjee for really bringing their deep insights and making it a very magical and meaningful event. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the wonderful, engaging, inspiring, and thought-provoking discussion. I now request our principal, Professor Beena Rai, to present a token of gratitude to our president, Ms. Dareen Vikaji. Thank you, ma'am. I request our principal, Professor Beena Rai, to deliver the vote of thanks.
There is nothing impossible in this world for a woman because she is born with the dedication to make everything possible. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Women's Day to you all. On behalf of the Managing Committee, faculty members, staff, and the students of Avadh Girls Degree College, it is indeed a privilege and a moment of great honor for me to extend the formal vote of thanks on this special occasion. The Tehrim Dass Memorial Dialogue. Today's event has been an intellectually enriching experience, bringing together esteemed speakers who have shared their insights, perspectives, and wisdom on the theme of today's program. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished panelists for their invaluable contribution. Your expertise, your life journey have enlightened us all, making this event truly meaningful. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to be with us today. Purpose with passion. एक चीज़ तो मुझे यहाँ समझ में आ गई, चाहे हम कितने भी बड़े पद पे पहुँच जाएं, चाहे कुछ भी कर लें, खाना बनाना आना जरूर चाहिए और ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. मैं थोड़ा सा ब्रेक लेके अपना एक एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करूँगी. 2 एक्सपीरियंस है मेरे पास. माय ब्रदर इज़ अ जियो साइंटिस्ट एंड जब हम लोग मेरठ में रह रहे थे, मैं अपने हस्बैंड के साथ सुबह 9:30 बजे गाज़ियाबाद पहुँच गए और वो पोछा लगा रहा था. मैंने हस्बैंड की तरफ देखा, उन्होंने मेरी तरफ देखा. मैंने कहा मैं ये एक्सपेक्ट तो आपसे नहीं कर सकती. उन्होंने कहा नहीं, मेरे से पोछा नहीं लगेगा. उन्होंने बोला रिंकू तुम्हें कुछ नहीं लग रहा, तुम पोछा लगा रहा. क्यों जीजा जी, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? अगर वर्किंग वाइफ हो चाहे ना हो, अगर घर में एक दिन पोछा लगा देंगे तो क्या हो जाएगा? और फिर हंसते हुए उसमें कहा मैं अच्छे से सफाई रखता हूँ, इसलिए एक दिन में रखता हूँ कि घर में अच्छी सफाई हो जाए. एंड आज मैं इस मंच से अपने पिता को और अपनी माँ को, वाकई पिता को श्रद्धांजलि और माँ को पूरा सम्मान. आज की डेट में मैं यहाँ मंच से, मुझे इस बात में कोई संकोच नहीं है कहने में कि मेरी माँ ज़्यादा पढ़ी लिखी नहीं थी हैं, लेकिन मेरे माता पिता दोनों का ये था कि बच्चे जो भी होंगे सब काम आएगा, सब कुछ करेंगे. और जब मेरी शादी की बात चल रही थी तो पापा का मन नहीं था इतनी जल्दी शादी करने का, लेकिन प्रेशर था. तो हम बोले पापा आप तो बोल रहे थे कि तुम कुछ कर लोगी तब शादी करेंगे. कह रहे फोटो खिंचा लो, दे दो, मेरा जब मन होगा मैं जाऊंगा, हो सकता है इधर उधर से घूम के आ जाऊं, करूंगा तभी जब तुम्हारी शादी, जब तुम कुछ बन जाओगे. अनफॉर्चुनेटली शादी इतनी लेट हुई कि नौकरी करने के 2-3 साल बाद मेरी शादी हुई, जॉब में आने के बाद. तो इसलिए उसका कोई अफसोस नहीं है. और मदर कहती थी इसको कुछ नहीं सिखाते आप, चाय भी बनाना नहीं आता, सर्वेंट भेजेंगे क्या शादी के साथ बाद? तो बोले या तो सर्वेंट भेजूंगा या सर्वेंट रखने लायक बना के भेजूंगा. दोनों चीज़ें हुई और इत्तेफाक से अच्छी कुक भी हूँ. तो आप सबकी जर्नी जिस फैमिली से, जैसा कि डॉक्टर उर्वशी ने बताया कि वो कैसी फैमिली से आई, मैम ने बताया, मीनाक्षी मैम ने बताया कि कुछ भी नहीं आता था, उनकी जिठानी ने सिखाया। हर एक यहाँ पे बैठा हुआ शख्स जो है वो आपके लिए एक आइडियल है, और उसने अपनी ज़िंदगी का, हर एक व्यक्ति की ज़िंदगी की स्टोरी अलग है, उससे सीखिए, वही हमारे लिए सबसे ज़्यादा अच्छा है। थैंक यू ऑल। एक बार फिर से AGDC की तरफ से मैं चाहूँगी कि एक बार अ बिग अपलॉज फॉर देम। Thank you. I would like to express my sincere gratitude, Ms. Jareen Vikaji, President Managing Committee of Avadh Education Society, Avadh Girls Degree College, for your constant encouragement, support, and always with us. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I extend my special thanks to all the distinguished guests. सबसे पहले सैफ अली नकवी जी, जनरल सेक्रेटरी कांग्रेस पार्टी, डॉक्टर नूर खान मैम, मिस सुनीता आरन मैम, डॉक्टर प्रतिमा भाटिया मैम, डॉक्टर श्रुति शुक्ला एंड her husband, Mrs. Rudy Kapoor ma'am, Mrs. Archana ma'am, and other distinguished guests for your support, for your encouragement, and really thankful to bottom of our heart. A heartfelt thanks to the esteemed family of Tehrim Das, Dr. Amrita Das ma'am, Miss Kavita Das ma'am, and Mr. Ajit Das, whose legacy and contribution continue to inspire us. This panel discussion is a testament to the values and vision that Tehrim Das stood for, and we are honored to uphold them. I heartfelt thanks to the organizing committee and faculty members who have worked diligently to bring this event of life. Your meticulous planning and dedication have ensured its smooth execution. I am also grateful to Team ICS, technical support, support staff, and managing the logistic and audio-visual arrangements and hospitality with precision and care. Your efforts often go unnoticed, but they are truly backbone of every successful event. I heartfelt thanks to the faculty members and my dear students. You always with me, with our college. I'm really thankful. Once again, I extend my sincere thanks to each and every one of you for making this event a success. Let us continue to engage in meaningful conversation and contribute to the exchange of knowledge and idea. Wishing you all a wonderful day ahead. और इस मंच से a heartfelt gratitude, a tribute to Mrs. Tehrim Das ma'am. उन्होंने अपने समय में समाज को जो भी दिया, आज भी हमारे लिए वो एक प्रेरणा की स्रोत हैं। वो हमारे साथ नहीं हैं, पर उनकी ब्लेसिंग्स, उनके विजन्स, उनके थॉट्स और उनके वर्क्स हमारे साथ हैं, जो हमेशा हमें रास्ता दिखाते हैं। एक बार इस मंच से आप सभी का पुनः तहे दिल से धन्यवाद। हैव अ वंडरफुल डे। Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request Ms. Kavita Das to deliver the formal vote of thanks.
As we conclude this inspiring Tehrim Das Memorial Dialogue, I'm honored to express our deep gratitude on behalf of the Institute for Career Studies. We extend a heartfelt appreciation to all our distinguished guests present today, Ms. Zareen Vikarji, Professor Beena Rai, members of the AGDC Management Committee, faculty, staff, students, and media representatives. We extend a heartfelt thanks to our eminent panelists, Dr. Meenakshi Pahwa, Dr. Prerna Kapoor, Dr. Urvashi Sani, and Mrs. Zora Chatterjee for sharing inspiring messages from their experiences. Your insights, replete with wisdom, has truly resonated with all of us, leaving a lasting impact. Your presence and participation have made this event a truly memorable and enriching one for all of us. We are delighted to present each one of you with a gift and a plant as a token of our appreciation. I'm requesting the ICS team to please come forward. We also extend our gratitude to Ms. Zareen Vikarji and Professor Beena Rai for their unwavering support and present them with a token of our appreciation. And to Divyanshi for comparing the event so well. And we also express our gratitude to the media representatives for kindly covering the event. Lastly, want to express our earnest appreciation to all members of Team ICS and AGDC for their invaluable contribution to the planning and execution of this special occasion.